on account of the devastation it brought to our major assets in Leyte, as well as its tragic consequences throughout the region. But at EDC and other companies in the Lopez Group, the impact of a calamity is not what defines us. We have always been defined by what we do and how we act under the circumstances, guided by our cherished Lopez values. Immediately after Yolanda hit on the morning of November 8, we organized and dispatched rescue teams from EDC in Bacman to search and account for all our employees on the ground in Leyte. In addition, EDC first-gen employees and their families set up a significant relief packing and distribution operation in Cebu to assemble supplies that would be needed by affected employees. We did all this despite the absence of contact with anyone in Leyte, and we presumed that the worst had occurred. Our worst fears materialized and the real picture unfolded when President Ricky Tantoco and a group of executives from First Gen and EDC flew to Ormoc and Cananga and linked up with our employees 2 days later. Not only were our power plants rendered inoperable, but the devastation and suffering throughout our host communities was immeasurable. That week, the EDC Crisis Management Committee was formed with President Ricky as chair and First Gen Senior Vice President Lito Santos as vice chair. We spared no time and expense in mobilizing landing barges, jet aircraft, and helicopters from Manila and Cebu to bring in the much-needed food, water purification tablets, medical supplies, tarpaulins, tents, blankets, mosquito nets, mosquito repellents, candles, solar lights and chargers, and even generator sets, and diesel among others. Most of these were initially for our employees and their families, who were very much victims themselves. But within a few days, once all 743 employees were located and accounted for and their needs met, we quickly turned towards helping the local governments of our host communities, Ormoc and Cananga. We brought in 5 large gensets supplied with more than 22,435 liters of fuel to light up the municipal halls of Ormoc and Cananga, 2 hospitals, and the Ormoc Water District pumping stations to enable water service to almost 80% of the city. But our actions did not stop there. Our EDC employees on the island, despite still not having complete roofs over their heads, went on to become the backbone of our Leyte-wide relief efforts. That effort mobilized relief goods, supplies, and medical assistance from EDC, ABS-CBN Sagip Kapamilya, and the Department of Social Welfare and Development, and used all of our owned or leased sea, air, and land assets to ultimately provide more than 10.7 million meals to more than 1 million affected lives. More than those sheer numbers, EDC's actions and those of countless others who selflessly gave during the early critical weeks provided hope at a time when so many needed it most. Many people today ask us why we did what we did. Why, despite the massive damage to our assets on the island, did we double up our efforts not only in the rehabilitation of our power plants, but also toward mobilizing massive resources for the relief effort? I could only reply that if you had seen the devastation and suffering we saw, of our host communities, then you would realize it was but human to do so. Yet somehow, we are still left with the sense that maybe we could have done more, or maybe we could have moved sooner. 2 years ago, we took the initiative of setting up the Oscar M. Lopez Center for Climate Change, Adaptation, and Disaster Risk Management Foundation, otherwise called the OML Center for short. It was because we were keenly aware that our country ranks one of the 10 nations in the world most vulnerable to the ravages of climate change. This stems not only from the extreme changes in our weather patterns, but also from the fact that massive poverty and the location of our towns and cities along unsuitable geohazard areas combine to exacerbate the difficulties of adapting to a new normal. Thus, the OML Center was established to enable and help accelerate the ability of our country to recognize the impacts of climate change and adapt effectively. Yet as we witnessed the fury of Yolanda and the devastation it inflicted on an unprepared populace, again, we were left with a sense of urgency that we should be doing more and moving even quicker. We continue to help our host communities as they rebuild their lives from the rubble. But in addition, EDC will now place even greater emphasis on disaster preparedness and disaster response, not only for ourselves as a company, but for our host communities and local governments as well. In many ways, however, I have seen how this crisis has toughened us as a company. I saw not only how the bonds with our host communities have been strengthened, but also how we overcame huge obstacles in bringing our plants back online 5 months ahead of schedule. Although Yolanda has been the event that overshadowed many others last year, we continue to push hard on taking EDC up to yet another level this year. The much-awaited rehabilitation of Bacpan Units 1 and 2 will be completed by the 4th quarter this year and the 1st quarter of 2015 respectively. The transfer of our 45 megawatt Negros plant to Nasulong is also moving briskly and will be completed by the end of 2nd quarter this year. Our 87 megawatt Burgos wind farm will also see completion before year's end, with its capacity upgraded to 150 megawatts by March of 2015. Our international projects are also moving at a quick pace, with solid developments in Latin America and Indonesia. Now, President Ricky Tantoco and I like to talk about how EDC is in midstream of a 10-year transition to being a global and diversified renewable energy company. The journey thus far has not been without trial and adversity, but it's in the midst of such challenges that I've seen the men and women of EDC come alive and shine. Those moments leave me in no doubt about its upward trajectory and where we're all headed. So to all our stakeholders, thank you for your unwavering support to the company and its management team.